Welcome, everybody, to Prop It Up. Happy Friday. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the prop betting markets. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs and Andrew McInnis. We are going to go over what did we learn in the first half of the NFL season. That's going to be one of our big segments. We're going to go over a little bit of college basketball with Matt Joseph, some NHL props with Andrew, and I'll go over some NBA props as well. And, of course, we'll get into our featured NFL games. Let's start with some fun facts to whet the appetite. Fun fact number one, Jalen Hurts has only one pass for over 40 yards. However, it's the longest completed pass this season in the NFL. So he only has one long pass, but it is a 91-yard bomb, and that is still the longest pass for the season. Fun fact number two, tied for the most touchdown catches by tight ends are Dawson Knox and CJ Uzomah. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Hunter Henry and Mo Alley Cox are tied with Travis Kelce with 4. So I'm sure we all had that figured out before the season started. Fun fact 3, the Cowboys are 7-0 covering the second half spread this year. They're the only team that remains undefeated covering second half. And 2 from last night's game. Last night's game, the Colts-Jets game ended 45-30. That was a scoregami. The first time ever that NFL game had ended 45-30. And as a bonus, Mike White and Josh Johnson combined have 87 fantasy football points. Zach Wilson only has 61. So the backups are doing better than Zach Wilson for fantasy football. Let's bring in the fellow prop masters to guide you through the weekend. First, Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. Matt, I know you are slammed with college basketball right around the corner. How are you this morning?
Doing well. Doing a little bit better than Michael Carter, who was always open last night. And Josh Johnson just doesn't know he's a teammate of his. So that was unfortunate. But, yeah, it's college basketball approaching and a lot of fun. 2-1 last night. The Mike White under on the longest pass hit because he really didn't throw the ball as much as he was supposed to last night.
Yeah, nice job. You and I have been on the Carson Wentz over 1.5 touchdown passes. As the books keep putting out 1.5 touchdown passes for Carson Wentz, I think you and I are both going to be on it. Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. Andrew, NHL is off and running. How are you this morning, sir?
Doing great, guys. Great to be here. NHL is off and running a few weeks in. Like I said last week, super happy to be doing props early in the season, not just in the playoffs this year. It's been a blast so far. Clients are getting just 1 to 3 each night. And I'll be honest, Andy, I'm super grateful. And I know Thanksgiving in America is around the corner. I am thankful for props in the NFL because sides aren't going too great. So the good news is we have so many props available. I'm grateful and thankful that we have the prop world to dive into.
Well, we said the prop world is one of the best ways to make money in the gambling industry. There's just so many props and there's just not enough time for the books to get them all dialed in. So yeah, if you can get good on the props, you can do some damage. I want to talk about what did we learn the first half of the NFL season? We're to the halfway point. So Matt, I'm going to come to you first. So talk to us a little about what did you learn? What have you noticed? Some trends, anything that you've taken away from the first half of the NFL season? And then also let us know what you got coming up for college basketball. What can we expect from any props from the start of the season? So Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. What have we learned so far?
Well, I've learned that one of my favorite and least favorite bets is the longest completion bet for a quarterback. It's a bet I had never taken before this season, and it is quite possibly the most chaotic bet that I could possibly do because it's one of those bets that you could be looking really good in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, a fourth quarter random pass that just goes and the guy, somebody misses a tackle and you lose. But it's been a lot of fun to basically go through it. As I said, Mike White has not thrown a lot of deep passes this year. They hang a lot of big-time numbers for some of these quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes consistently has these huge numbers. Now, of course, he has Tyreek Hill, and so there's a bit more worry there. But these books and what they're doing with regards to the longest completion bets, if you notice the longest reception bets involving the wide receivers and running backs, they're usually pretty low. But then the number for the quarterbacks is a lot higher. So there's a correlation there sometimes as to what the books think is going to happen. And I've found a lot of value taking unders, even though there's been a bunch of times I've lost them in the fourth quarter. Longest completion bets for the quarterback. There are certain defenses that just don't allow long completions, and I'm going to continue to play those, even if they cause my hair to go even whiter than it already is. College basketball, it starts on Tuesday. There's 160-something games, although 60-ish games are Division II, Division III games involving Division I opponents. I think early on what I'm just looking for is teams with experience, teams that have continuity against teams that are changing styles, teams that have new head coaches. There are some potential look-ahead spots. There's also these early season tournaments in neutral courts, and so you want to look at how quick some of the turnarounds are. Where are some of the mismatches? When will teams sit guys in the second half if they're up big to get ready for a game the next day? So it's all about experience early on in college basketball. We'll dip our toe in there with some totals and team totals and things like that. There are going to be some situations that we're going to hit hard because some teams got ravaged in the offseason, and we're going to look to bet against them early. This is the only time you know as much as the books do, so make sure to take advantage of it with regards to college basketball.
Matt, when you do college basketball, are you looking more towards spreads, or do you do more with like team totals or first halves? What's your I don't do a whole lot of college basketball, and when I do, I stick to first half spreads. So what categories do you look at and you like to attack in college basketball?
Well, I'll say this. Once again, this year we'll be looking heavily at Gonzaga first half overs. It was very profitable last year. Their first game is against Dixie State, who plays a ton of tempo, and this is going to be a fast-paced game, and Gonzaga's got a really good offense. So we'll be looking at first half overs with Gonzaga, and yeah, certainly, especially in these early games with teams that are learning each other against teams with continuity, we'll be looking at some first half spreads. I never want to deal with these like 30, 35-point spreads because the back door always seems to be open here. So yeah, we'll be isolating first halves in mismatches and things like that. But experience and team totals is what we're looking for early on.
Great stuff, Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. College basketball right around the corner, and Matt is sure to take advantage of that. Andrew McInnis, let's come to you. So first off, want to hear what you've learned in the first half of the NFL season, and then talk to us a little bit about NHL props. You mentioned that they've been going really well. They're not the most popular thing in the world, but anything that makes money is popular in my eyes. So talk to us about the first half of the NFL season and then what's been going on in NHL props.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, well, if I'm comparing to last year, what I did, I'll tell you one thing I've learned is that I can make money on betting props on some teams that I haven't really looked at, for certain players, looking at guys deeper in the depth chart than I ever have before. And these unique props, I think I did a segment this year on Prop It Up about some unique props, such as field goals, such as sacks. And, just the way that the prop world is evolving and so many options are out there and the availability, I found that even though I had success last year, I went back and looked at a lot of the plays I made, guys. And they were, I hate to use the word square because I don't think that should be used. And that's even a word you can really use in prop. But I was looking consistently at the big names, the Travis Kelce's, the Devontae Adams, the Patrick Mahomes of the world. But this year, Andy, I've kind of really gone down a different pathway, or I've looked at, you guys heard me. I gave out a prop on Davis Mills this year on the show. You can find a way to make money on every different player every different week. And, I'll say this. Last year, I don't know how many weeks I didn't have a bet on Derrick Henry. And I know you can find players that are just wash, rinse, repeat, and it's profitable after profitable after profitable. But I'll tell you what, this year I've been a lot more hesitant to just ride some, patterns, and I've kind of just picked my spots a lot more. And that's really what I've learned that's helped me this year is that to try and, each week find a weakness on a different team and expose that with a prop from their opponent. So last year, I was kind of looking for guys to ride their streaks a little bit and looking for these guys that are constantly going over, especially guys at the front of that depth chart. But this year, I've looked a little bit deeper. And even if I'm looking at those star players, it's not every week. It's just when I find a really good matchup and a really good bet on spot. So I just think people out there, the constant talk every week is, well, this has to be a good week for Mahomes. This has to be a good week for, this receiver. But the fact of the matter is it doesn't have to be a good week for them. The best players can have down weeks. And I know that seems like kind of a blanket statement, but that's one thing I've learned is just picking my spots with these star players and trying to analyze these matchups the best that I can. So that's the biggest difference I found in myself from this year compared to last year. And as far as the NHL betting goes, Andy, I always mention about how, the betting world is changing. I love the different props that are available. I did a segment about power play props, in the NHL more and more lately. As much as I hate that the league is getting softer, it's kind of funny. The NBA this year cracks down on fouls, and the NHL actually starts calling more penalties. Kind of ironic that way, but we're seeing a lot more power plays this year in the NHL, and you can get a player to get a power play point, a power play goal, and all of a sudden those odds go way up, Andy, like way up. I'm talking, and a lot of players out there, you'd be really surprised if they scored 30 goals in the season. Some players might get 30 of those goals, 13 of them might be on the power play, even half of them. For some of these guys, they're just power play specialists. And I've been looking at the assist props quite a bit because, my main focus this year in the NHL, just from a betting standpoint, has been not to lay chalk. What does Kelly in Vegas call people that have big spreads? Chalk eating weasels, something like that. I've been really trying to focus on not, betting huge money lines. So what I've been doing when I see these big money line favorites, for example, Edmonton a few nights ago, they won their game, but I went 2-0 in the prop market there. And my props were plus 100 and minus 120. And I just sat there, Andy, feeling much more comfortable with those prices than I would have with the regulation for Edmonton or even the money line for them. And that's really helped me out quite a bit. So looking at some of these lopsided games that maybe the favorite will win, but I'll decide to just go ahead and take the prop route for a safer play there. What about you?
Yeah, what I like about that is, when you take a lopsided team to win, you cash one bet. But with props, you can take a lopsided win and cash 3 of them. So that's another good thing that the prop markets offer us is multiple ways to cash on the outcome of one game. So if you're only betting on the side of a game, if it doesn't go your way, well, you're 0-1. But if the side doesn't go your way, you can still cash some of those props. Mm-hmm. So what I've learned the first half of the NFL season, I got caught a couple times where I had multiple bets involving the same player, and it burned me. If I'm talking negative things, I had James Robinson to score a touchdown and over his rushing yards, and he got hurt. And boom, that's a quick way to go 0-2. So I'm going to make sure I don't have multiple bets involving one person. I will say, just dissecting some of the things that I've been really good at and that have been really profitable that I'm going to keep looking at is the first quarter unders. Those have been really, really good to me. And also the first half team totals. And what I've looked at with the first half team totals are teams that are just under 2 touchdowns. So if I can find a 13.5 or a 12.5 on an explosive offense against a bad defense, those have been money. Those have been absolutely fantastic. I also have been looking more at taking, and this sounds simple, but making sure I'm taking players on good offenses if I want an over, and if I want an under, I make sure that I'm looking at teams that aren't very good. The Jacksonville Jaguars, now that they don't have James Robinson, even if he plays, he's going to be a little bit hobbled. But that's under Central this week against Buffalo. They looked completely lost without him. And then on the flip side, if you're looking to take overs, you're looking at some of these high-flying offenses to take some overs. The Dallas Cowboys, Zeke to score a touchdown, that's been great. Pollard over the course of the season to get over his rushing total, that's been winning. So if you're looking at taking some of these players on overs, you want to make sure they're on good offenses. And if you're looking to be an under better, look towards some of these bad teams that are struggling, especially now that we're halfway through and we're getting a pretty clear picture of teams that have given up. I'll tell you right now, Denver Broncos, that's going to be a good source of unders. They've pretty much thrown in the towel on their season. So that's a team that I think the opponent you can go over on with some of their props, and on the Broncos you can go under on some of those. NBA props, we're up 30 units so far in the NBA. So NBA props have just been dynamite. We've had such a good read on the NBA season. And one thing I've noticed is these players, the way that they are officiating the game is completely different from last year. You're not getting those BS calls at the rim or those horrible fouls outside the 3-point line where guys are used to getting, 3 free throws when they don't really deserve it. So what you're seeing is the pace of the game is faster because the game's not stopping as much. And some of these unders are cashing at breakneck speed, and that includes the player props. The unders for the player props have been great, and I'll give you 2 right now. I'll just give you my season-long secret. Every single night I am going to take Steph Curry and Giannis under their points, rebounds, and assists. Both of them are hitting at 60% unders their points, rebounds, and assists right now. Steph Curry especially. And you're going to feel really dumb one night when Giannis goes for 40 points and 15 rebounds and 8 assists, or when Steph goes, 8 for 12 from 3-pointers. But when you look at their stats, it's surprising how many times that these guys go under. These teams are deep. And sometimes there's just not enough points to go around. When these teams are involved in blowouts, they're sitting in the fourth quarter. And for basically the whole year, I am going to just play Steph and Giannis. We're recording this on Friday. I believe they both play tonight. Those are just 2 unders I'm going to take. So right now, unless I see something change pretty drastically, which, you do have to keep your eye on, unders have been the way to go. Eric Bledsoe unders have been really good. De'Aaron Fox is struggling to shoot the ball, so his unders are hitting. So I'm seeing a lot of success fading some of these guys that are struggling in the first part of the year, and I'm going to keep doing that. So that's what's been going on.
I have to ask you, Andy.
Yeah.
Great stuff. I have to ask you because I ever since I've met you, you are someone that I know that can find some of these unique ones the bookmakers have wrong, and you catch on to them and you ride it. What has to happen for you to get off that under train for Steph or for Giannis? I mean, how much would they really have to change it? Because it sounds like it's going to be a while until they get to a lower number that you won't want to look at.
I don't think it is going to change. You know how these books are. When you have these big name guys like Steph and Giannis, the books cater to the public. I will tell you, I'm one of the few people that will be taking them under. So I feel like these numbers aren't going to change a whole lot. The books, they want all that public money on the over. And so, right. I mean, and if you think about it, if a lot of these numbers are around the 50 mark, think of how much has to go right for you to get over 50 points, rebounds, and assists, especially with teams like the Warriors and the Bucks that are so deep, that have so many options. I mean, you can go, if 50 is the number, you can go for 38-6 and still come up short. You can have just an incredible game. And we see these more in the playoffs as opposed to the regular season. So I got to say, Andrew, if they start lowering them down to 42 or 40, I would lay off it. But I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to keep hanging those numbers because it's a winning proposition for the books. They're going to have way more tickets on the overs than they are in the unders. And that's when old Andy sneaks in and grabs an under ticket.
Like same thing with Matt with the Gonzaga first half over. Matt, you put me on that last year. I saw you saying that on every piece of content you did last year with college hoops. And I joined you on that train. And I thank you for making me money with it. And I'm just curious, really, you think it'll be profitable again this year? I mean, I don't know. I don't really feel like it's going to slow down, but is there ever a time where you're just like, okay, all right, like they're catching on, or do you think it's going to be a big profit again this year, Matt?
I mean, it's like what I talked about, like 1 or 2 weeks ago with the automatics. I'll bet it every game. I'll just adjust my unit size. There'll be some times where I put 3 units because I feel like really confident in it. And then there'll be times where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'll just put 1 unit on or half a unit on. But I mean, Andrew, I'm probably going to do it every game and just adjust the unit size. Because I bet you by the end of the season, I'll still come up on top because I'll know which games it'll be better off in hitting. But yeah, I'll play it every week.
It's a great way to go about it. Just saying, take it every week, but just adjust the unit size. I enjoy these bets that you can take every week because you don't forget about it. It's just ingrained. You just take it, adjust your unit size. That way you don't forget one night to do it. So that's really good stuff. So, Andrew, I'm going to come to you. What do you got cooking for us this weekend? A lot of sports going on. What can everyone look forward to? Andrew McInnis on WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, 5% pick going tonight in the CFL. Cashed a pretty easy one last week. Hoping to do the exact same thing. It's funny. I've always found that with CFL, I've had much more success, since I started handicapping it late in the season we are obviously late in the season, only a few weeks left of the regular season. The playoffs get going, and I feel like I have a really good bet on spot for tonight. So I play up in the CFL, NHL action up. I've been doing a lot of just full packages, Andy. Similar to yourself with the NBA, sides, totals, props, they can get everything in that package. And then, as you know, I always mention this and I always drag you into this. I know you're a huge UFC fan. Wow, what an event for tomorrow. I just have one best bet up for tomorrow. I'm going to have a free play up today at WagerTalk, but 4% plays have been outstanding in UFC for me. And other than that, we got the prop package for NFL, but it's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, it's a loaded UFC card. I've got a play up as well, so that should be a banger event. And also Bellator, we got a daytime event in Bellator today. So if you guys are looking for some MMA action, that is on starting at 1:30 Eastern time on Friday. Matt, what do you have on tap for this weekend? I believe this is the last weekend for a while without college basketball, yes?
Yes, that is for sure. And college football, we've had 3 straight winning Saturdays, so that's always good. Started out with a win yesterday in the Louisiana-Georgia State game, so that's good. And we probably have a play in one of the 2 games in tonight for college football. But yeah, full college football weekend, a lot of team totals and things like that. We're rolling in the team totals in the NFL. And then, of course, the NFL props on Sunday. And then look, Monday night, probably the college basketball lines will come out for Tuesday's big grand opener. We'll dip our toe in a little bit with some college basketball. Had some success in that sport last year. So, yeah, it's a full weekend here and a lot of research being done in the old apartment here.
I imagine. That is Matt Josephs on sportsmemo.com. I'm Andy Lang on wagertalk.com. NBA props are easily the biggest source of profits I have right now, plus 30 units to start the NBA season. We have a 5% NFL play. That is up right now. NFL lines seem to be holding strong, so 5% play is still good. Encourage everyone to go get that, as well as the NFL prop package and the NBA props as well. All right, let's get into some specific games in the NFL. Matt, I'm going to come to you first. Let's talk Eagles and Chargers and how we can go about this game from the prop perspective. So, Matt, figured the Eagles were going to be on your list of teams to talk about. Talk to us about the Eagles and the Chargers.
So, last week the Eagles did exactly what they needed to, and this is exactly how they need to play their football games. They ran the ball a ton on the Lions. They took a lot off of Jalen Hurts' plate, and it's the first time, well, it's actually the second time, because the Atlanta game, ironically another victory, was another game where they relied heavily on the run. And the Chargers, by the way, 32nd in run defense. They're starting to hang some numbers up there. I saw Boston Scott's numbers. Boston Scott's the number 1 running back in this room right now. I think that he's going to get the ball plenty, and even if he doesn't, he's a guy they can throw the ball to. Jordan Howard's the number 2. He got about 12, 13 carries last game, so if they start putting up some Jordan Howard props, he might not be a bad guy depending upon the number. The guy that's kind of getting left out here is Kenneth Gainwell, and last week, I was talking with Andy in the private chat about how I thought that Jordan Howard was going to be the number 1 guy. I was wrong there, and I got the under wrong on Boston Scott. But if they hang any sort of aggressive numbers on Kenny Gainwell, especially for rushing, I think he's going to get edged out. I think the Eagles believe that he's a third down kind of guy. And I think that what's going to happen is if there's like a 25-ish, 26-ish, the only reason why he got close to that number last week was because it was a blowout. This game's not going to be a blowout. I think the Eagles win. But if it's close, Kenneth Gainwell's not going to run the ball a lot. So watch out on Sunday because it could be one of those Sunday specials that they pop up late. But the under and Kenny Gainwell rushing yards will be important. On the Chargers side, the Eagles have given up a lot of receptions to running backs. That plays right into Austin Eckler. This feels like an Austin Eckler game. If the Eagles are aggressive and decide to let Darius Slay play one-on-one, Keenan Allen may struggle a little bit, which means Mike Williams could have a lot of stuff. So I'll be interested to see, and I know that DraftKings has the live player props. I'll be interested to see how they play this in the first quarter. If they play it aggressive and they blitz a lot and let the corners play one-on-one, might look for an under on Keenan Allen, might look for an over on Mike Williams. If they're back to that soft zone that they like to play, well, then it could be a big day for all the wide receivers. But early on, I'm looking to target Austin Eckler because the Eagles give up a lot of receptions to the running backs, and we know how much they love dumping it off to him out of the backfield.
Nice, great stuff on the Eagles and Chargers. I'm with you. Eckler should be in line for a big game. Andrew from WagerTalk.com, I'm coming to you. Let's talk the Vikings and the Ravens. This game piqued my interest. What do you got for the Vikings and the Ravens for this Sunday?
Yeah, well, I definitely know it piqued your interest, Andy, because I've been barely getting any sleep lately, and I completely stole this game from you. And the good news is I only have a few props to give out on it, so I'd be more inviting than to let you know, and you have the ability to chime in with some picks you have on this game as well. So I sincerely apologize. I stole this game from Andy. I have a few props I do like on this game. So, Andy, live here on the show, I apologize. New puppy in the house. I'm getting zero sleep. Barely even saw your message. But look, we all know that the Ravens have a really, really great tight end. We all know that. But we also have to know is that they don't really defend the tight end position very well. And that's one thing I'm focusing on here. And I'm looking at Tyler Conklin over 32.5 receiving yards here. Baltimore's given up an NFL worst 77.9 receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends, including at least 46 yards in 5 of those games. And, I think it's going to be a relatively conservative game here, for the Minnesota Vikings. It's kind of what I've been saying for them. They're a very conservative team. They either short pass or run the ball quite a bit here. Conklin has received at least 5 targets in 4 previous games, averaging 48.2 yards in that stretch. And when I look at this game here, I'm also looking at Kirk Cousins for his pass completions. It might shock a lot of people here, but we have a team in Minnesota that is 3rd ranked in the league in pass completions per game at 27. We have the number listed at 23.5 for this week. Look, I'm expecting a big game for the Ravens. I'm expecting this Vikings team to be playing from behind. I'm expecting kind of longer drives from them. And the reason why I think they are number 3 ranked in completions is because of that conservative mindset. I mean, some teams that are really great football teams have really slipped down in that completions ranking because they throw the ball far. You could be a really good football team, but if it only takes you 4 or 5 tosses to get down the field to score sometimes, then that's going to kind of hurt somebody's prop if they're looking to bet over on your completions. Last but certainly not least, everybody's favorite quarterback, running back out there. Or some weeks he plays one position, some weeks he plays both. Lamar Jackson looking over his rushing yards this week. This is a Viking squad that allows 120.9 rushing yards per game. NFL's 21st ranked rush defense. And right now, their pass rush, the Vikings, isn't very good. So I feel like Lamar's going to have lots of time out there. If he doesn't see what he wants to see and he goes through his motions and checks his targets and they're not available, he's going to have the green light to jet and get going. So over 60.5 rushing yards for me with Lamar Jackson's also look. So 3 props in that game I really do like. Now, Andy, because I stole this game from you, let me know what you like in this game. Those are 3 props I like in this game.
The biggest
and any disagreement? Let me know if you argue with any of those picks either. Any disagreement there?
I like them. I think when I was researching this game, I think what's been fairly shocking is just how few big plays the Vikings have had this year. We're not seeing those Justin Jefferson long passes. We're not seeing those huge runs. They're one of the last teams in terms of long plays, but the Ravens give up long plays. You can get behind the Ravens secondary. You can break a long one. So I think if the Vikings are going to win this game, they're going to have to stretch the field. And if they do, this could be a shootout. I think this game actually has all the makings for a shootout if the Vikings can get going. Lamar is going to run. I think Marquise Brown has a good game. I like your call on Conklin there. So I think this game could feature a lot of overs with some of the skill position players, especially early on. I would love to see a real high-scoring first quarter to set the tone for the game. This could be it could be a really, really fun game to watch. So no, I think you covered pretty much everything that I had. So the game I'm going to go over, the Ohio Bowl, the Browns, Bengals. The Bengals, they're a really good rush defense. They only allow 3.9 yards per carry. I'm going to be on Nick Chubb under 96.5 yards rushing and receiving. If I'm going to take the under, I want the receiving yards in there because he just doesn't catch a lot of passes. It's like 1 catch a game for 8 or 9 yards. So I want to add that onto the total so I can take the under 96.5 yards rushing and receiving. I'll take Joe Mixon over his 15.5 yards receiving. He had 58 yards receiving against the Jets, 59 against the Lions. He broke a couple long ones against that team. I also am not a big fan of the Browns and what's going on there. Baker's hurt. Even when he's healthy, I don't think he's a big threat. Odell is out of there, which actually probably is addition by subtraction. But there's nobody on this Browns passing offense that scares anybody. And because of that, I think the Bengals are going to have a lot of success slowing down this the Browns team. This Browns team only scored 10 points against the Steelers last week. I think it's going to be another low-scoring game, and I mentioned the first quarter unders. This is going to be a classic first quarter under for me. It's at 9.5 points. I don't see a touchdown and a field goal in the first quarter. I see at least one or two drives that stall, and I'm not sure how the Browns are going to put up a lot of points. I would also look at the Browns team total under 21.5. As long as I get the hook in there, 3 touchdowns feels like a lot for the Cleveland team. So yeah, Nick Chubb under, Joe Mixon over receiving. And I don't really know what to do with Jamar Chase. He finally didn't hit his longest completion. And I noticed last year, this is something to keep your eye on out there. If you've been playing longest receptions and longest completions, last year there was a big drop off when the weather started getting colder. Russell Wilson was one that sticks out to me. So make sure you're looking at some of these guys that have been catching long passes and throwing long passes. When the weather changes, the unders start hitting pretty quick. So that's what I got for the Browns and Bengals. Gentlemen, it is time for best bets. Let's give the people some actionable infotainment. Matt, I am coming to you first. What is your best bet for this Sunday?
All right, so you just talked about the first half team totals, and last time I checked, Devontae Adams is still playing, Aaron Jones is playing, and the Kansas City defense, all you have to do is find Daniel Sorensen, and you'll score some points. So I think this is a gift from the heavens. I'll take the Packers over 9.5 first half points. You're essentially telling me to get a touchdown and a field goal. Look, I understand Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers, but there's very little film on Jordan Love, and the Kansas City Chiefs don't know necessarily what to prepare for. I know that they're probably going to scale back the offense a little bit, but even so, it's the Kansas City Chiefs defense. They're in the bottom 5 in first half points allowed this season. The Packers are in the top 5 in first half points scored. 9.5, give me the over here. I think they could score at least 10 on Kansas City. I don't care if you, me, or Andrew is quarterbacking. Give me the over 9.5 points in the first half of the Green Bay Packers.
I'm with you on this one 100%. I really like that play, Matt. I mean, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon can give a lot of support to Jordan Love. So I think you're spot on with that play. I really like that one. Andrew, coming to you. Talk to me. What's your best bet for this weekend?
Well, I'm just going to take that as a big compliment. So thanks, Matt. You trust our quarterback abilities. You trust our athletic abilities. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. But I get the point you were making. I love your play. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson over 62.5 rushing yards. I already mentioned it when I broke down that game and gave out a few picks that I really like on it. But this number is 6 yards fewer than his average on the season. Minnesota 21st in the league ranked rushing yards given up. I just look at this game and I expect Lamar to have lots of time back there. Like I said, if he is not getting pass rushed, if he doesn't really have any pressure coming towards him, some might say it might be, why would he run? He'll sit back there and look to find his targets. Well, if he has time, nobody's pressuring him, and he doesn't see those looks that he wants to see, he will run and he will hit the Jets. And I feel like he's going to make a really, really good day out of the running game on Sunday. So Lamar Jackson over 62.5 rushing yards for me, looking to expose this team and get going here in the run game as well. As I say, he's a quarterback, but he's also a pretty good running back as well.
Good stuff from Andrew. I'm with you on that one as well. My best bet for this Sunday is Teddy Bridgewater under 37.5 pass attempts. He's gone under in 6 out of 8 games this season, and in 2 straight games, he had 26 and 33 attempts. It looks like Dak Prescott is going to be good to go and at or near 100%. Cowboys are the number 1 team in time of possession the last 3 games they've played. And that's a really good way to hold the quarterback under his pass attempts is keep him on the sidelines. Listen, if Dallas gets ahead, they're going to use that running game with Zeke and Pollard to keep the clock running and hold the ball and hold the ball and hold the ball. Dallas's defense is getting better as the season goes on. They have a really good pass defense, tied for most interceptions in the league. So I think this number is a bit high for his attempts. I got to believe that Bridgewater and the Broncos early on are going to want to use Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. So I think this number is a bit high. I'm going to take Bridgewater under 37.5 pass attempts. Quick recap on the best bets. I have got Teddy Bridgewater under 37.5 pass attempts. Andrew McInnis is going with Lamar Jackson over 62.5 rushing yards. Matt Joseph's going with Packers over 9.5 first half points. And that is going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Prop It Up. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a profitable one. We're halfway through the NFL season. For Andrew McInnis at WagerTalk.com, Matt Josephs at SportsMemo.com, I am Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com. Good luck this weekend. Hope you have a great one, and we'll see you next week on Prop It Up.
We've reached the midway point of the 2021 NFL regular season, and the Gold Sheet would like to say thank you for another fantastic year. The Gold Sheet has been serving NFL and college football bettors for over 6 decades and continues to make enhancements and improvements into today's digital age. Whether you're a lifelong subscriber, used to buy it at the newsstand, or perhaps have never seen the Gold Sheet, we want to share this week's edition with you. To celebrate Customer Appreciation Week, all Gold Sheet football products are free. That includes the traditional Gold Sheet with write-ups on every NFL and college football game for this week. No codes, coupons, or registration required. All productions are available for download at goldsheet.com.